Welcome back to Alpha Recap, your post-market rundown from stockalpha.ai. Markets closed mixed today after a handful of big thematic headlines steered flows, and we're diving into the three stories that set the tone on April 22nd, 2026. As always, if you have questions, you can reach us at stockalpha.ai and use the Q&A feature. So, what really stands out here is...
Yeah, absolutely. Today's tape was less about a macro shock and more about structural moves. Crypto treasuries, hydrogen infrastructure with a software twist, and SPAC filings in the mobility space. I mean, when you step back and look at this, those are the threads that could steer sector rotation for a while.
Right. Let's start with the big headline. Bitmine Immersion Technologies disclosed a massive stake in Ethereum. The company reported roughly 5 million Ethereum and about $12.9 billion in combined crypto and cash reserves, which the report flagged as roughly 4% of estimated Ethereum supply and 82% of their alchemy of 5% target reached in 9 months.
Hold on, say that again? They reached 82% of a 5% Treasury target in 9 months? That is aggressive accumulation.
Exactly. Reaching that pace in less than a year means two things. First, the company's equity will likely move more in step with Ethereum price action because of mark-to-market exposure. Second, it signals a deliberate treasury strategy using crypto as a strategic reserve, not just spare cash. Right. And the other thing is...
Analysts noted that when a company holds material digital asset reserves, equity volatility can get amplified. So, if Ethereum has a big swing, the stock's earnings per share picture might not change overnight, but the headline volatility certainly will.
Yeah, that tracks. And there are operational questions investors will want answered. Custody arrangements, whether they're staking or lending assets, hedging policies, or explicit sale triggers. Those details go a long way to change perceived risk.
So, what really stands out here is the what to watch list. Changes in Ethereum price and on-chain metrics that could swing mark-to-market exposure. Plus, any company updates on custody or monetization plans. Those will be the next catalysts.
Short reaction.
Big move.
All right, switching gears. Hydrovia Energy launched a national hydrogen fueling rollout and an intelligence layer called H2AI, which they described as the world's first hydrogen intelligence system. The product pairs physical stations with a continuous digital knowledge layer to tackle range anxiety and the education gap around hydrogen.
That pairing, infrastructure plus software, is a repeatable playbook we're seeing across energy transition. Build the CapEx-heavy asset, then attach data and services to improve utilization and create recurring revenue. It really speaks to how players are trying to accelerate adoption, not just install pumps.
Exactly. But national rollouts raise obvious questions. Who's on the partner list? What's the deployment timetable? And where does the capital come from? These projects are capital intensive, so success often depends on anchor customers, OEM tie-ups, or public-private financing. Right. And the other thing is...
And don't forget regulation and permitting. Analysts will be watching for pilot customers and financing details. Without those, it's mostly promise. It sounds great in a press release, but the real test is commercial traction.
Short reaction.
Good concept, big CapEx.
Now, on the SPAC front, Einride and Legato Merger Corp. 3 filed a Form F4, which is the formal registration statement for a proposed business combination. That filing typically means the merger timeline is getting more concrete. Proxy materials, SEC comment letters, a shareholder vote, all of that steps into view.
Form F4 filings are a regulatory checkpoint. They don't guarantee a deal, but they do accelerate the timetable. Analysts note that renewed SPAC activity in EV and autonomous logistics suggests sponsors are still interested in mobility themes. just moving through a more formal, slower regulatory path than during the boom years.
I mean, when you step back and look at this, the combination of hydrogen infrastructure and SPAC activity in transport tech is interesting because they're complementary. Electrified freight and hydrogen for heavy-duty segments can both shape demand for different parts of the logistics ecosystem.
Right. Watch SEC comments on the F4 and any amendments to the filing. Those will tell you how clean the regulatory path looks and whether the timeline to a pro forma public company is still realistic.
Quick detour into market micro-signals from today. There were 3 small but telling items. 1. The search term cursor spiked to about 10,000 searches, roughly a 300% increase versus baseline. 2. Morgan Stanley reinstated coverage on Coursera at equal weight with no price target. 3. The Direxion Daily Small Cap Bear 3X shares rose about 3.1% to $5.16 on heavy volume of about 210 million shares.
Those are classic attention and coverage signals. Sudden search spikes can presage retail interest or event-driven moves, even if the underlying reason isn't yet clear. Reinstated analyst coverage often precedes a fuller note that can drive trading flow. And heavy volume in an inverse small-cap leveraged ETF often indicates tactical hedging or positioning, traders protecting themselves against small-cap weakness.
Analysts note that attention-driven volatility can create price action before fundamentals change, and reinstated coverage without a target is a neutral signal, but it often foreshadows more analysis that can move peers. So these micro signals are worth watching if you follow event-driven flows.
Short reaction.
Interesting little signals.
Mm-hmm.
We also had some corporate reputational items. PSEG issued Earth Day messaging on environmental initiatives, emphasizing community benefits and reliability, but they didn't add new financial guidance. Online Labels Group picked up a recurring industry award, the Eugene Singer Award, for the 19th time, which is a soft signal of operational consistency. And Chuck Teal was honoured by the Illinois CPA Society for distinguished service.
These are reputational signals rather than balance sheet events. Utilities making Earth Day statements can influence perception with sustainability-focused funds and regulators, but the real impact depends on whether there's follow-up reporting with measurable targets. Awards and honors boost brand trust, but they don't move revenues unless tied to new wins.
Right, and to add to that, reputation matters for long-term contract retention and regulatory goodwill, but it's rarely an immediate catalyst unless it's accompanied by specific commitments or funding.
So, what really stands out here is the pattern across today's items. Treasury crypto is emerging as a balance sheet strategy. Infrastructure rollouts are being paired with intelligence layers to speed adoption. SPACs and mobility are moving forward through formal filings, and attention spikes plus reinstated coverage are creating short-term trading flow.
Exactly. A few practical things to watch tomorrow and in the near term. Any further disclosures from Bitmine on custody, staking, hedging, or their path to that 5% Treasury goal. Ethereum price action and on-chain metrics. SEC comments and proxy timetables on the Einride Legato filing. Hydrovia partner announcements or pilot openings. Whether the cursor search spike persists or ties to a corporate event. Continued heavy volume in inverse small cap ETFs. And whether Morgan Stanley publishes a fuller note on Coursera.
Analysts note those are event-driven triggers, filings, partnership announcements, on-chain moves, and coverage releases that could create near-term volatility even in the absence of broader macro changes.
Quick takeaways before we go. 1. Corporate crypto treasuries like Bitmine's materially change equity correlations and headline risk. 2. Hydrovia's pairing of stations and an intelligence layer is a useful template for energy transition projects. 3. SPAC filings like that Form F4 keep mobility deals moving, but regulatory steps matter. 4. Micro signals, search spikes, analyst flow, and heavy ETF volume can drive short-term price swings regardless of fundamentals.
And a reminder, this discussion is informational. We're not providing investment advice or recommending any buying or selling. Analysts note the signals and the potential implications. Whether that informs your own research is up to you and your advisors.
If you have questions about anything we covered today, head to stockalpha.ai, where you can ask us directly and we'll answer live. For more market analysis and insights, visit stockalpha.ai. Thanks for listening to Alpha Recap.
Catch you next market day. Yeah, that tracks.